How do you know when it's time to walk away instead of trying harder? Gina, I've had the same group of friends for years, but lately, every time I hang out, I feel drained, judged, or behind in life. How do you know when you're genuinely outgrowing people versus when you're just going through a phase? Hi, everyone. I'm Gina Zapanta, entrepreneur, lawyer, and founder of Empowered with Gina, and I'm doing this really fun Q&A series about the most commonly asked questions I often get, whether it's through social media, in-person interactions, or just that I generally know a lot of us think about. So let's get into it. Gina, I'm finally starting to set boundaries with my family. Here we go. And now everyone's calling me selfish and acting like I'm the problem. I know. How do you deal with people getting angry when you stop overextending yourself, especially family? So again, I've talked about this and I will continue to remind you as much as you need. We have been programmed since birth through modeling, through religion, through culture, through society. We have been instructed that in order to conform and be a good person, a good daughter, a good wife, a good husband, a good whatever, you need to tolerate toxic behavior. You need to be a doormat because they're family. And we're talking specifically about family here. This rule applies to anyone, but specifically family. Blood is thicker than water, they say. And I know there's a whole phrase to that I'm not saying, and it's actually like the opposite, but you know what I'm trying to say. That whole thing. Well, you tolerate and deal, everything's for the family. Don't tell anyone the family's secrets. Nothing goes outside the family. The family. And I am a Godfather fan like anyone else, right? That was extremely toxic behavior and relationships. So what do you do when you're hearing these messaging? It resonates with you that you want to start having boundaries in your life and not tolerate such toxic behavior from family. I don't care who they are. They could be your children, your parents, a sibling. It doesn't matter. If you find it unreasonable, that's that. That is the rule. You decide the rules for your life. Where it becomes difficult is the conditioning and modeling we received. What kind of daughter are you that you're not coming to Thanksgiving? You're not bringing your kids over for Christmas? Obviously, those are extremes, but are they? What's the difference between a family dinner, Christmas, Thanksgiving? Again, our conditioning. We were told those are significant. We are told those are the big deals. You have to do that. We learned that. We can choose to unlearn that and create something different for ourselves. Yes, it will feel uncomfortable. It will feel lonely. But I think you're worth it. I think you are absolutely worth taking that route, making that investment so that you can create a peaceful and fulfilling life with maybe chosen family in it. So what to do when family starts criticizing you because you are enforcing your newfound boundaries? Again, understand it for what it is. They too were raised through conditioning. They too have a very strict understanding of what you do and you don't, what you should tolerate and what you shouldn't. And so when you go against what the herd mentality says is acceptable, then something's wrong with you. So understand that, you are going against what everyone knows to be acceptable. So you are breaking from that herd mentality by doing that. Next, understanding that what they're going to tell you, their criticisms, their judgment, that's them just lashing about because they don't have full access to you the way they want. They can't just talk to you in a diminishing way, in a dismissive way, and then you just tolerate it and still show up for them. They can't act the way they've been acting or behave the way they've behaved around you to you anymore because you're not going to tolerate it. You're going to actually not show up anymore. You're not going to be available. You're not going to do it. And you don't owe an apology. You don't owe an explanation. But that's for another question. Expect them to call you selfish. Expect them to say you've changed. Oh, because you are reading these new books and you have these new empowerment friends. Now you think you're better than us. Expect that. I am changing. I'm educating myself. I'm unlearning things that I had no say over when I was born. None of us had any say about the conditioning we would receive through society and culture and religion and beyond. We didn't, but now we do. Now we have full control over what we choose to believe, how we choose to proceed in life, and mostly the boundaries we choose to set for ourselves of who is within our boundaries and who we should remain outside. So expect the family to criticize you. Expect that kind of feedback and passive aggressiveness. That'll come. That is your sign that you are doing it. That is your sign that keep going. It will sting, but then to lessen the sting, understand that they're doing the best they can with their education. They're doing the best they can with what they have. They too are conditioned, and they are maybe not at the same place you are, nor should anyone be, because growth is different for different people at different times, and you are only responsible for your growth. Okay, I got the phrase, guys. I was saying it wrong. So a lot of us have always heard blood is thicker than water. Well, guess what? We were uneducated about it, and we've been saying it wrong this whole time, and it doesn't mean what we think it means. The actual entire phrase is the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. And that actually supports everything I'm saying. Covenant is just like an agreement, friendship, relationship. The blood of that chosen relationship is thicker than the blood of the water of the womb, which is like a blood relative. We have been conditioned to think the opposite. Because you're born into a family, you have to tolerate their bullshit. No, you don't. You're welcome. You have permission not to. I don't. So choose to not do it either. All right, another great question. How do you know when it's time to walk away instead of trying harder? Easy, I'll tell you. If you're doing most of the lift, if you're doing most of the work, if you're the one always trying to start the conversation to talk about what's going on, if you're the one always doing it and the other one is like, whatever, or after you've communicated, they still don't meet you halfway or start showing signs that they're actually interested in trying to make things work, but you're still maybe hoping that, I hope one day, maybe she's just going through a hard time at work. She has a hard, you're making excuses. If you're doing most of the work, you're starting most of the conversations, and the other person is not even meeting you halfway, then honey, wake up. They are not that into you. They're not interested. When it is worth it to continue to put the work in and do the hard work together is when the person is in communication with you. Not that they're agreeing with you. If there's conflict between you two and you both don't feel comfortable with where things are after you've discussed it, that shows interest. That shows that, like, if you tell the person, I'm really not comfortable with how things are between us, and they say, yeah, I agree. Perfect. That is signal that both of you are interested and at least acknowledge you don't like the relationship where it is. You continue those conversations, right? Also, if a relationship is making you feel terrible, even though you're trying and you're trying and you're trying, and you know that feeling in the pit of your stomach, the tension in your shoulders, it is there. Your body doesn't lie. Your body is intuitive. It is telling you, it's screaming at you, get me the F out of here. That's your time to go. But if the person is meeting you halfway, it wants to work with you. They show up for the meetings. They show up for the therapy sessions. They show up to talk to you. They tell you how they feel and what they think of things. It doesn't mean that the relationship will resolve and move forward. It means that it is worth continuing the hard work of doing it. Because you may very well both come to the conclusion that this relationship has run its course. I love you. I respect you, but I want to part ways in a healthy way. That's progress. That's just as good as tolerating a healthy relationship. Be sure you're being accountable to yourself. You're not making excuses for the other person who's not showing up, who's not doing their part of the work. And also acknowledge when it is another person meeting you halfway. Also, caveat, don't try to shame yourself into having conversations and doing the hard work to make something work when you know you don't want in that relationship anymore. I've seen this a lot of times, and I talk to a lot of women. I can see right through it. I tell them, you don't even want this relationship. Why are you trying to make it work? Oh, because he's a good guy and I owe it to him, and he's trying, and it's really nice. And well, it's not that fucking nice, is it? You're not martyring yourself for a relationship. You're not responsible for charity relationships. So be very careful about that. You don't owe anyone anything. When it's time to go, you will feel it. You go. Okay? I make it sound so easy, I know, and I know it's not. And I've done it in my life. I've done the work. I do the work every single day. This is why I can speak to it. I go through the hard. I've gone through the hard. I'm the oldest of 5 children. I have 3 brothers I do not talk to. I have cut them out of my life. I have no idea where they are. They have made decisions in their life that I deemed very toxic for my life, my health, my well-being, and that of my family. And I made the very difficult decision to cut them off. It's difficult, obviously. You were raised to think that families should stay together. So I work through realizing that doesn't necessarily mean that. And also being around family who enables those people and still has relationships with them. That's equally difficult. I choose to work through that because I know that aligns with me, and that is the most protective for me first and then my family. Gina, I'm starting to realize that I am building my entire life around making other people comfortable. How do I even begin to figure out what I actually want? This is a very, very common situation a lot of people have, because when have we ever in our life had the opportunity to stop and think about what drives me? What do I want? Not what college you want to go to, not who you want to marry, not how many kids you want. I'm not talking about that. What do you want? What is in here? What is intuitively moving your needle? I know a lot of us can say, I don't know. Don't feel like freaked out or worried or you think that something's wrong with you because you're there. You've just never had the opportunity to explore what you want, ever. And so if you're having those conversations with yourself, like, I really don't know what I want, but I want to know what I want. Beautiful. What an opportunity. You've identified an area that you can either choose to work on or just keep going through life, like autopilot and never really committing and investing the time to discover who you are. It will take work. And one of the quickest ways to do it is obviously looking at the community you keep, the people in your life. Are you around them because you should be around them? Because they're your people you've grown up with? They very well could be people who feed your soul, who make you feel good. Great. Those are people to keep around. But a very quick way for you to determine it is write down. Look at your community, your friends, the people that are close to you, the people you communicate with the most. How do they make me feel? What about that relationship do I like? Is it that they make me curious? They make me feel, they empower me, they inspire me? Or is it, well, we just hang out every Friday after work because it's Friday, it's time for cocktails? These are serious questions, and a lot of people run on autopilot like that. And you don't make the time because you're having cocktails at someone's barbecue because it's Saturday afternoon and that's what you should be doing. But do you even really want to be there? Do you really, really want to be around those people? Some of you can very much want to, and that's wonderful. But for those of you who are just like, I don't know what I want, start there. Look at your community you keep first. Start writing down. I like this about this person. I really don't like this about this person. You're not horrible. No one's going to read this but you. This is all you doing research and figuring out what you want. And it can change, but this is a great way to start. Gina, I'm the first woman in my family trying to build something for myself, not going the traditional route, but most of my family keeps telling me what I should be doing, settling down, having kids, play it safe. How do I politely tell them that that's their idea, not what I want for myself? Okay, I'm going to start by breaking down the question for you to show you the answer. I'm the first woman in my family trying to build something for myself. Well, are you or aren't you? Try is not, what does try mean? Are you building a life for yourself or aren't you? No, I am. Okay, then you're not trying anything. This is starting to change our perspective, and talking like this and acknowledging this starts emboldening and enabling you to see the answer more clearly when these situations come up. I'm a woman building a life for myself versus I'm trying to build a life for myself. You felt the difference. If you felt that difference and you're through the camera, how does our brain feel when we continually say, well, I'm trying to break generational curses. I'm trying to get healthy. I'm trying to invest in myself. Girl, no, you're not. You're letting your brain have an out by using the word try. So rule number 1, we get rid of the word trying. You are building a life for yourself. You are the first in your family to do it. Period. Oh, but I'm just starting college, so it's not that you are doing it. Don't diminish your accomplishments. Next. I'm not going the traditional route, okay? Most of my family keeps telling me what I should do. How do I politely tell them that it's their idea? Why does it have to be polite? This goes back to conditioning, to programming, because a good girl is not rude. A good girl doesn't cause a scene. A good girl is polite. You don't want to hurt their feelings. You better be that doormat and make sure they're comfortable first. Okay? Are you seeing the answer, or is it just me? You are a woman, first in your family, creating a life for yourself. You are breaking tradition. You are not going to do and live that life. You're not, okay? And you're going to stand on that. When you do that, you don't need to be polite or rude. It's inconsequential. It doesn't matter. Start breaking through what you understand to be learned behavior, learned emotions, learned conditioning. Being polite or rude doesn't matter. Sure, you don't want to be an asshole. Nobody wants to be around an asshole. But don't pressure yourself to be like, how do I politely tell them that? Girl, no, that's not even a situation you need to be worried about. What you want to focus on is that you were programmed to understand what I just told you. They too were programmed to think that a good girl, a good woman, a good wife, a good mom does these things, stays home, plays it safe, has kids, should be happy and lucky with what they have. You found a good man. Why rock the boat? You never know what's on the other side. Grass isn't never greener on the other side. Somebody told me that when I was getting my divorce. I did not take their advice. Once you decide that you're not trying anymore and that you actually are living a life for yourself, then understand you're going to have people around you who don't understand that. And it's like you learning a new language and you're speaking to your family in this new language and they're going to be like, what the hell are you talking about? Speak in English. We don't understand you. That's all that is. Now, because it's family and we've been taught to feel shame and guilt by not appeasing them, that's the whole other conversation to it. But right now, understand you will get that feedback from them. It doesn't make you wrong. And you don't need to worry about being polite. You don't need to explain yourself. And if you feel like you do, this is your opportunity and signal to start distancing yourself from those people. Oh, but I can't. We live together. Okay, I get it. Up until 18. Yeah, by the law, apparently you have to be, your guardians or you're part of a family with parental guidance. But after 18, and it might not be able to be overnight that you make a change. You can certainly start putting plans in place to do that. Maybe it's your relationship with your spouse, someone you're dating. You can put plans in place. You can have conversations. And if you're as sure as you are that you are creating a life for yourself, the first in your family to do so, it will come with difficult decisions like this. You're not going to be able to bring everyone with you because they do not understand the language you're speaking. Gina, I've had the same group of friends for years, but lately, every time I hang out, I feel drained, judged, or behind in life. How do you know when you're genuinely outgrowing people versus when you're just going through a phase? It's called our intuition. It's called energy. When you are around someone, regardless of how long you've known them, there is an energy exchange. Somebody walks in the room, you immediately know or feel or judge them. I use the word judge, but that probably explains the idea a little bit better. You know that feeling of whether you want to stay in that room with that person, continue talking to them, feel uncomfortable, don't feel awkward, don't feel comfortable around them. The same situation applies to the company you're keeping, your friends, your communities. And a lot of people struggle with, well, I've known them since high school and, they hang out every weekend and I don't want to be the odd person out. Well, then don't, and then don't grow. It's that simple. In order to grow, you will have to outgrow things. You can't continue to wear a size 7 if your foot is growing to a size 8 and 9. Get it? Doesn't mean size 7 is wrong or ugly shoe or anything's wrong with that shoe. All it means is you now need a size 8 or 9, whatever size your foot's growing to. Same with your growth in your life. If you've chosen empowerment, it's not going to be the same size as maybe the group of friends you're hanging out with now. They're not going to get it. They probably aren't even interested. And when you start feeling drained, leaving any situation, I don't care how long you've known them, that is your signal to limit your exposure and time with that person. Oh, but I don't want to be rude. Well, that's on you. Because again, it is not a rude or nice or polite situation. It is about you protecting your boundaries. You feel offended, taken advantage of, overwhelmed, or drained after interacting with someone, even work situations. That is your opportunity and signal to question why you're there. Nobody is hostage in a relationship or work for that matter. If it is draining on your life that bad, you have one life to live. You're never going to get these moments back. You owe it to yourself to make the hard decision, which ultimately is the best decision, to seek out what does align for you. And you will find it as long as you continue to listen to your intuition and the energy you feel by being around certain people. Keep the ones around that make you feel good, that make you feel inspired, that make you just feel alive. Keep them around. It doesn't matter what they do for work, their pedigree, their college degree, none of that matters. Keep the aligned energy people around. Start phasing out or limiting your time around the ones that drain you. It doesn't make you bad. Nothing is wrong with you. Congratulations, you're outgrowing into a new, wonderful part of your life.